Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Whereas, of course, Pakistan has always advocated for regional connectivity. As far as security is concerned, it's always remained a challenge. We know what's happening even as we speak. There are security challenges in Balochistan. We're also looking at the current situation in KP. We were talking about regional connectivity in the light of these challenges that Pakistan faces. And what is being done to combat these challenges, and where and how do we need this kind of joint effort from of course regional countries, particularly of course Afghanistan also. All of that today on Perspective. I have with me Naela Chohan, who is a former Special Foreign Secretary Foreign Affairs. Thank you so much for being with us, Naela. Always a pleasure. We also have with us Brigadier Retired Nawaz, who's a defense analyst. Thank you for joining us. Dr. Adnan Sarwar, who's a foreign affairs expert. Thank you for being with us today. Naela, of course, Pakistan has, like I said, advocated for regional connectivity, and of course we want a peaceful coexistence with all neighbors, including India. We've said so on numerous occasions. We continue to say so, even though there's always, not the kind of reaction one would like that comes across from there. But of course, how do you look at this kind of regional connectivity in the light of these security challenges with particularly Afghanistan and of course other regional partners also?
That's a very important question, Mahrukh. Regional connectivity is absolutely imperative. Since 1993, when the Central Asian republics became independent, and we were trying to connect with them, we means Pakistan, Iran, Turkey. We created ECO to involve these countries, to have trade, to have regional connectivity. But in between is Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And without stable Afghanistan, it is not possible to implement all those plans and projects regarding connectivity. Even now, our Deputy Prime Minister / Foreign Minister was in Afghanistan to discuss the framework plan for feasibility of railway connectivity between Pakistan, Uzbekistan and Afghanistan. So in that they will be studying how the security issue can be dealt with. You might recall recently there was SCO foreign ministers meeting also. In that, Afghan acting foreign minister was also invited, and on the sidelines I think the member countries tried to bring home to the Afghan regime that they have to take their responsibility if they want to benefit from all this, because this will positively impact the people of Afghanistan as much as it would affect the whole regional.
I want to come to that. I want to come to whether, that kind of responsibility that is needed from both sides, even if we unilaterally exercise it, is coming or not. Let me go to Brigadier Nawaz. Brigadier Sahab, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Brigadier Sahab, we're talking about the regional connectivity in the light of course, this railway project also. Do you think that the kind of reciprocity we need to have from Afghanistan is there, to combat these security challenges that Pakistan is facing? These are very serious issues. We know what's happened, yesterday, a couple of days ago, we also saw, where we saw, people, the way that they were killed, innocent laborers. So overall, Pakistan is in the thick of it, in the heat of this kind of wave of terrorism. Is the effort being made from the other side to combat it, in your opinion?
You see, it is the most different thing. The catch is if Afghanistan is peaceful and it is devoid of all terrorism, 24 terrorist organizations are in Afghanistan. And that is a report of United Nations. And Al Qaeda is training them, including BLA, BLF, BNA, Majid Brigade, and Kharasan, Pakistan, along with Forages, TTP, and East Turkestan movement, which affects China, and so many others. You see, the problem is that as long as Afghanistan is volatile, let's forget neither railway line is going to be give connectivity, nor we are going to get connectivity from Central Asia to through Afghanistan to Port. This is the issue. That is why I personally feel, and I'm very openly saying, that Americans left $7 billion weapons and ammunition in Afghanistan. The purpose was that it must fall into the hands of all the terrorist organizations. Because if they were very sincere, they wanted Afghanistan to be peaceful, then they should have handed over this all weapon ammunition to Afghan interim government so that they could have controlled, they could have had a proper storage and accountability, and then things would have been much different. They knew that it's all immune to these all terrorist organizations and to fall into the hands of. And now we have seen how it has gone surge. All weapons ammunition are being used against Pakistan, all American made, whether you talk about guns, RPG-7s, and night vision devices, everything that is American. Recently, American president said, we want to get it back. But then it is not now possible. And along with that, Americans are giving every month them financial support. So this is the thing. If the world, particularly European Union and American, want peaceful Afghanistan, then they should put rain on Indians. India is the proxy of Americans against Pakistan, China, and South China Sea. So why can't they do it? You see, it's the most important thing. What China has to be also told. China is doing a lot of minor mineral works in China, in Afghanistan, and they are giving handsome amount to Afghan interim government that's being used. So that's what I say. It has to be China. Pakistan tell them, okay, please hold on Afghanistan. Tell them what is the difficulty. If Afghanistan is peaceful, only then we can have all these things. Otherwise, it is not possible.
Fair enough. Let me go to Dr. Adnan. Dr. Adnan, can you hear me?
Yes, of course, I can hear you.
Dr. Adnan, yes, we want America to play this role. But in the light of our recent relationship, in the light of course, we've had the intervention that we saw happen post Pahalgam also. Do you think that there's a chance that America would interfere or intervene, I think is a better word here, to that extent, so that these linkages can become a reality for both Pakistan and Afghanistan?
Well, this is a very unique question, I'll say, because mostly we have been talking about our best friend China's intervention in positive way to engage Pakistan and Afghanistan, and this latest case. Then yesterday our foreign minister went there and signed the train corridor agreement. Well, that in itself is a very historic development, as our ambassador to Afghanistan, our envoy to Afghanistan rather, special envoy, Mr. Muhammad Sadiq also has said. But now the point is that although from different directions, including of course China at the top, Turkey, Russia, have been on for the last couple of years to engage Afghanistan and to placate it and to be direct it to the road of prosperity, peace and prosperity, I would say that the United States of America at the moment is so engulfed in its unconditional, I would say, support, all-out support to Israel in Gaza and in Palestine, and also it was so brutally helping, the Israeli regime in Iran. That, and then of course it is trying its best. Well, in what ways Trump has his style to end the war in his words in Ukraine, that I won't be really optimistic about the fact that United States would be actively, broking some kind of a peace there and restoring some order there and bringing Afghanistan to some kind of a connectivity, regional connectivity with the regional countries. In fact, you see, the point is that they are with Afghanistan on some very temporary, on ad hoc basis, as far as their intervention, positive interaction is concerned. Zalmay Khalilzad, their ambassador, long-time ambassador to Afghanistan, envoy rather, you see, had been there to secure one of the Americans released there, but it was such a isolated kind of an event. Now, I'm of the view that neither the United States would be in a position right at the moment to be such a big helper, nor you see it, China and Russia and Turkey and these countries, particularly China and Russia, are going to give in Afghanistan a place and a space to the United States diplomacy, because they are of the view that United States may once again exploit Afghanistan for their what we have been hearing since decades, and even centuries when it was British there, the Great Game. So I believe that now in Russia and China, this has been clearly recognized that this great games kind of politics ought to be over now, and their border with Afghanistan and the whole neighborhood ought to be peaceful so that they can invest in energy and communication and trade. So I think that Russia and China are honest broker in this sense, rather than United States of America.
Yes.
United States.
Agreed. That is true. There is, of course, there's a changing trend towards linkages rather than trying to foster relationships, regional relationships. One has to say. But the question is again one of security challenges. Let me come back to you on that. I'm going to go in the studio to Naela. Naela, this. Okay, everybody wants there to be regional connectivity, everybody wants there to be, a better relationship in that sense. But the question is, how do we deal with this kind of a security situation when, of course, it is Pakistan that continues to suffer? And the fact is that if none of these countries are going to play a role, are the Afghans, is the Afghan government willing to extend itself to that regard, that they clamp down on this kind of terrorism that comes from them?
I think we have to understand the ground reality. When it comes to the Afghan regime, the problem is it's a conglomeration of various tribal lords.
Yeah.
So it's not that coherent like you would have a proper government. It's not a proper government. And there are in factions and there are infighting zones.
So you're saying that they may in some instances be unable to control it?
I think they would not have the capacity to do it. But yes, regional countries like in SCO, there was a discussion on security and there was a discussion on trans-border terrorism, which Pakistan had raised because of the Balochistan situation. So if regional countries get together and we work together, China and Pakistan already are working on it.
Okay.
We also have a trilateral mechanism with Afghanistan where the foreign ministers of the three countries meet regularly. You might recall even during the SCO summit here on the sidelines, the trilateral meeting was held, and subsequently another round was also held. I think Afghanistan is now really poverty stricken. Their resources were jammed by United States of America. They still need to return that money to these people. So they are basically surviving at minimal. Once economic prosperity comes, once development comes, their people would be positively engaged in gainful employment.
Yeah.
Then they'll be less vulnerable to temptations to be suicide bombers or terrorists. So for that, I think the regional countries can play a role, and then the spoiler role that India is playing, that needs to be curtailed also.
As far as regional countries are concerned, let me go to Haris Nawaz Sahab. Brigadier Sahab, is it the role that Naela is talking about? She's saying that this role has to be played by regional countries. Do you see that happening? Do you see as far as China is concerned, we've spoken, Adnan, Sarwar Sahab also had, of course, we engaged China. We have a partnership with China, a long-standing one. But what kind of a role do you see emerging, and on what level? To what extent? I think is a better question. Do you think that these countries are going to be able to play that role?
You see, the most important role definitely China can play, because China should be most interested. If Afghanistan is peaceful, means we have connectivity from Central Asia. Afghanistan is peaceful. Then we have connection. We go to Gwadarpur, Balochistan, Gwadarpur, and then the whole market of Africa and Middle East is available. And likewise from Kashgar, China comes within 7 to 8 days. Go to Balochistan and Gwadarpur, and then the whole market is coming in. The oil can inflow from that place to Kashgar also, and it is only 8 days. 8 days, 90 days, China, if they start importing, and when the shipment is coming from sea route, they come from Arabian Sea, they go to the Indian Ocean, they go to Malacca Strait, then go to South China Sea, and then they reach to China, and the whole area is hostile because of South China Sea region. You all understand what is the hostilities are there. So China is more interested, but then they have to play active role also. You see, China is doing mining and exploration over there. They give a lot of money to Afghan government, so their Afghan government is running, so they have no problems. Second is that Americans also giving a lot of financial support. Both sides are coming till the time Afghan government have a ethnic balanced representative political government. This problem will never end. 46%, 43 to 40.
Brigadier Sahib, I think there's a problem with audio. Adnan Sahib, you were telling us about how you think, overall we've been talking about how the regional countries can play a role. As far as security and border management is concerned, we've raised that concern with the Afghan government repeatedly. I believe, the Deputy Prime Minister Ishaq Dar also did so on the recent visit to Kabul, along with other concerns. Is the Afghan government serious, first of all, in trying to combat this terrorism, in trying to combat, for example, and secure border management? Let's start with that.
Okay, right. Once again, a very central question from your good self. I would say in response to this question, and I like to be a little candid also, despite all the optimism which has been generated in the last month or so, particularly since yesterday, that admitting that Pakistan and China are now up for the long-term policy towards Afghanistan, a strategic kind of policy, and they are going to give full opportunity to Afghanistan to prove itself. And this connectivity and railway thing is also going to go a long way in that direction. But I'm very clear also that, you see, Pakistan is not in a hurry, nor it's under some illusion that Afghanistan would be transforming its words into practical, actionable deeds. And the reason, in my view, is that Afghanistan also is playing, if I'm allowed to say, with due respect to the Afghan authorities, a kind of a game. It is trying to get the best from all the sides of the world, east, west, north, south, including, as you pointed out, the United States of America, if that is possible. But, the most dangerous thing is that they are not for good disconnecting themselves from their comrades, the militant comrades. And what to speak of TTP, now they have been in touch in a very secret way, I think, with Asfadul Harb of Hafiz Gul Bahadur, which carried out the Mir Ali attack recently, and Lashkar-e-Islam and Tehreek-e-Inqilab-e-Islami and Ittihadul Mujahideen Pakistan. Now you see that basically they have fought against the Americans, they have fought against the Russians together, and somehow either they are trying to give them some kind of a space, or they are trying to convince them rather peacefully in a more way of an appeasement manner. But the real kind of actions, at least that is not in my research, for the moment. And I would say that if they do not take real action, because in the last few days, once you see in April, about 50 plus terrorists crossing into Afghanistan were killed by Pakistan Army, and then again 30. And then latest incident was that Pakistani Army came under some of its Jawans, 5 of them officers, got martyrdom. So this, despite all the promises they are making and the great, I would say, very, very dynamic diplomacy by our foreign minister and DPM, really remarkable. The way he is doing it and with a good sense of pleasant attitude is simply phenomenal. And yet you see, the point is that Afghanistan's rulers somehow either are incompetent to control all of them, or they are in kind of a league and they are very slowly maybe controlling them.
Is it? I think that's a very, I think that's an important question. Let me come back to you and go to Brigadier Sahab on this. Brigadier Sahab, is it, what do you think it is? Do you agree first of all with what Brigadier Haris Nawaz, what Dr. Adnan is saying? And also, do you think that, is it inability, or is it the fact that they, are choosing to ignore what is happening under their eyes?
Actually, the problem is, unless Afghanistan has a proper government and they have a women empowerment, they don't have human rights violations, the world is not accepting them. So they don't have a control over whole of Afghanistan. That's the problem. Northern side, Afghanistan government don't have any control, and they have under influence of Iran also. So until the time Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan sit down together and they find a solution, this will never improve. One thing. Second, they have to bring the Hazaras, Uzbeks, Tajiks also into the government so that the power is shared, and then they have control over Afghanistan. That is not there. Then everybody is giving the money. Then money will start flowing from outside. The frozen money will also come when they meet the requirement of the community of nation. They are not doing it. That is the problem India, Afghanistan is facing. Pakistan has done a lot. Recently, yesterday, I think our foreign minister had gone and he must have met them, talked to them again. Let's hope there's some positive outcome. But they talked, they agree at that time. But then the manifestation is not there. They have to ensure that border is secure, border management is good, and then they have given already a fatwa that doing with the jihad with forages is haram. When Amir says it is hard, then you have to go for it. But then it's not physically, they don't not doing it. That is the problem. So now we have to realize, unless Afghanistan is peaceful, we will never be able to have our CPA completed. And please understand.
Do you think Pakistan should consider limited action, like for example, cross-border action or buffer zones, or infiltration if this infiltration continues? And we are, unfortunately, seeing that it is at this time.
We must, you see, the point is we must speak to Afghan government. We have a good relationship. At least we have a good communication with each other. We should tell them, if this is what we expect from you. These are the places the Indians are there. They have got a training camp. They've got ammunition dumps. There they harbor all these terrorists over there, and then give them training and give them target. And then they help them in crossing Pakistan side. So we want you to take action. If they don't take, then we can tell them, okay, if you can't take, you have a problem. We are there. We have a technology. We can play hell with them. We can destroy all these places. We can destroy the training camps. And then we must have a tacit understanding. The problem is that we don't want to spoil a relation. That is what India wants. If we should go and attack, and then India exploits, and we have a more stainless steel.
On that note, let me come back to you. Naela, do you agree with what Brigadier Sahab is saying? He's saying that we also cannot risk sabotaging, whatever relationship that we have with the Afghan government, because this is what countries like India want.
Very true. So it's a very delicate situation. The other problem is that they do not respect Durand line.
Okay.
So when you talk about border, they don't respect it because they don't even recognize it. Consequently, when these violations take place, there is a complacency on that side. So I agree with Brigadier Sahab that it has to be, I think what we need to do is have multi-pronged approach. That
Which
why
should
we
encompass-
engage with bilaterally with the Afghan regime,
Which is what we are doing.
which we are doing, but also multilaterally with the regional countries. We should all work together. And then CPEC, what we are talking about, because CPEC would include, or BRI would cross Pakistan, Afghanistan, it will go up to Turkey and onwards, Iran included. So if that progress has to come, then all the regional countries that are going to benefit from it, for their mutual economic benefits also, security is imperative. And they all realize it, it's not that they don't. But these non-state actors, they respect no boundaries, they respect no laws, and they need to be curtailed. Their funding sources have to be curtailed. Where are they getting these funds from? At one point you talk about FATF, they did a report on India and they had 300 observations of, India. For Pakistan they had only 28. So you can imagine how many points or lacunas FATF has observed when it comes to India. And I think it's one of the largest money laundering country in the world. So that has to be curtailed. If these non-state actors funding is curtailed, then they will not be able to behave the way they do.
And how do we pressurize? How
International community has to take role on it. You can't do it unilaterally.
I think we've been talking about this, and I think Dr. Adnan mentioned how it is perhaps not realistic to expect the USA to play that role at this time. Dr. Adnan, is that what you were saying? Because of course we want countries to play a role, and like the US and international community overall, of which US is a huge part. Then where does that kind of action come in when we talk about an international role coming from the international community to ensure that that funding is cut off from its root?
Well, again, a very complex thing to clarify. But you see, United States does not miss an opportunity on the positive side to appreciate Pakistan's role against terrorism, particularly emanating from Afghanistan. And it is all appreciated. And it says that it is a phenomenal partner of the global war against terrorism, particularly from its northwest. But the point is that they have to be now devising a policy in which they give the best of equipment, at least, fighting equipment to Pakistan. Because when it is reported they left Afghanistan in a hurry a couple of years ago with Taliban 2.0's arrival, they left the best of the NATO weapons. I don't know whether by default or by fear or by a deliberate attempt to keep on pressure, if I may say, on countries like us so that we cannot become stable. And of course, they are quite friendly to India also. That factor we must not forget behind the scenes. So I think they must then, in the name of terrorism, regional and international terrorism, which they uphold so high, must be contemplating some very fine state-of-the-art weapons to Pakistan. And number two, intelligence sharing. And number three, yes, you talked in one of the questions about the setting of a buffer zone. Well, if international community, through the United Nations Security Council, T5 involved in that, come up with a buffer zone to be monitored by the United Nations forces on Pak-Afghan border, that would be just wonderful. But how that would be accepted by Afghanistan, that would be a very, very good solution. And yes, one thing is that, as Ms. Naela was also saying, that it is such a dangerous situation moving on a tightrope by Pakistan, particularly diplomatically, that if we make a little mistake, India is going to again make an inroad towards Taliban. And India is already, I would say, most of the experts say they are trying to again assault Pakistan or take some kind of a revenge of their uh, loss of face against Pakistan. So this 6 months to 1 year is very, very sensitive, and Pakistan must do whatever to calm Afghanistan. And I think that the more they are economically integrated through the connectivity routes and they start uh, tasting the pudding, the economic benefits in a significant way, they would be in fact induced to have a real hard hand on the militants, because otherwise their business, their trade would suffer. So I think let's try to do some kind of a that thinking with Pakistan and Turkey and Russia and Iran also. Iran's foreign minister visited January this year to Afghanistan. So Iran also, which had some kind of problems, had some small, very small skirmishes with Pakistan regarding some use of its soil, as was alleged, is coming very close to Pakistan. And if Iran also gets involved, Turkey is there. I think that regional kind of a setup would be remarkable.
Let me go to Brigadier Sahib. Brigadier Sahib, this UAP, as far as the railway agreement is concerned, do you think that it has, how would you rate the success of it, the pace of it, it's moving forward? And of course, to an extent what Dr. Adnan said, of course, once Kabul realizes and there's these kind of linkages and the potential for the kind of advantages that it has for a country like Afghanistan, maybe they will realize that it is now incumbent upon them to deal with the issue of security.
You see, it is very important. I do understand, and it will have a very good connectivity. That means we may not feel that even with future land connectivity, it can be through railway connectivity. Agreed. But that I don't have see any much more success. The problem is that TTP is there, Farjis are there, Parasan group is there, BLA, BLF is there. So they are the problems. You see, the point is they are all under the influence of Indian law. Energy Deval is their planner, whoever is, he is the one who is doing all. And they openly say that we are trading problem. The problem is, please understand, Pakistan is the only Islamic nuclear country. One. Number two, our geostrategic location is excellent. Number three, we have a battle-hardened army, and we have proved in Mark-e-Haq or Benal Masood. Fourth, if through CPEC we can have economic prosperity, you can imagine we will take our decision in our national interest without compromising on anything. This is what in certain countries they don't want. They want we should remain dependent on IMF World Bank. Even USA did not allow us to have gas pipeline, which is already in Balochistan from Iran to get it through to Pakistan. Whereas India has been getting 50%. India has been getting 50% oil, and you see, you must have seen it. And China has been getting a lot of oil, but the problem is that they did not allow us. So unless Iran, Pakistan, and China they sit together, because Iran controls northern side of Afghanistan and southern side of Pakistan is a good relationship. So things can be beefed up because now Iran has totally cut off from India, and now they have a good relation with Pakistan. So if Pakistan, Iran sit down and work a strategy, and then Afghanistan and China included, I think this problem can be resolved. But Afghan interim government has to be told to cut off from India, because that influence is coming creating problem. Whosoever is supporting India, we all know it. That Pakistan interested that we must have the best of relations with Afghanistan. Afghanistan must understand, and even Russia and Central Asia, everybody, this affects it. As long as we have a connectivity with Afghanistan and then Central Asia and Balochistan, things are going to be very, very easy. And it is going to be really, this whole region is going to economically prosper. This is the issue. So, first, Afghanistan has to be told what are the implications what are the economic prosperity, what are the economic advantages, and then Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan, and China can sit and find a solution.
Is this, Naela, do you agree with what Brigadier Saab is saying, that Afghanistan, of course, Afghanistan is quite categorically envisaging this. It should be envisaging what this potentially means in terms of these financial linkages, in terms of, again, I think the root of the problem, whether they can do it, whether they're complacent like you said, but at the end of the day, for us the effect is the same. So as a state, Pakistan has to ensure that its own borders are safe before we can move towards anything that is potentially beneficial for both countries financially, right?
True, that's very true. So you not only have to engage with your neighboring countries, you also have to put your own house in order.
Yeah.
So that such miscreants don't find space, or such, I'm using a word miscreant, but you can use other word for them. These are basically
but this kind of
anti-state actors,
yes,
and non-state actors who find space. They camouflage in your areas. They know your areas inside out.
Because essentially, of course, for many Afghans,
Decades,
Pakistan
yes,
is the only home they've ever really known. So it's not.
If it was home, they wouldn't be burning it.
Fair enough.
They never took it as home.
But it's not the people, so
yeah, but you see these characters who come, they come
whether they're part of different groups or whether they're
exactly. So what I'm trying to say is that we have to put our own house in order, so that those local communities that live in on the borders should play their role also to expose any such ingress. That we have to work on as well. We also have to work with the Afghan government.
But we are doing as far as this multi-pronged stance, approach is concerned. Pakistan government is currently engaging with the Afghan government. There are no two opinions on that. We've seen the visits happen. We've seen the way that we've put it to them. We've laid down. In terms of manning the border is concerned, do you think, having what Adnan Saab said, UN, play a role?
That's a great idea. But like you have UNMOGIP also, the UN Military Observer Group on India and Pakistan. How far have they been successful on pinpointing the violations of the line of control or that comes from the other side? UNMOGIP is still based in Rawalpindi and they go to Azad Kashmir, but they cannot have access to the Indian occupied Kashmir, so they don't know what atrocities are being committed there and how their violations are taking place. So UN, yes, it's very important, but the problem here is that if Afghanistan doesn't respect Durand line, if Afghanistan does not respect international law, then where do you base the buffer zone? Where does it start and where does it end? You have tried fencing your borders, right? So it would be on that side of the border that they will be monitoring. How will you do that?
You're saying the practicality of it is not
rather
that easy.
Complicated. But I think there's an agreement here that once economic benefits come to Afghanistan, then and it was rightly said that they should have inclusive government. As yet they do not have an exclusive government.
So are we looking at a timeline? Are we looking at, all of these are of course going to take time. If we talk about an inclusive government, we talk about, these benefits coming to Afghanistan. We've also seen their attitude traditionally hasn't been very accepting if we look at the Afghan government.
Exactly the problem, but yes, the benefits are coming. Already they are coming, otherwise they could not have survived without all the resources that were blocked by the Americans. But having said that, once you have this railway line from which trade will take place, they will benefit from that too. When you have the BRI and the CPEC, that will also bring benefits to the people, but they also have to put their house in order. They have to make their government inclusive so that there are no marginalized elements or disgruntled elements who then just to undermine the regime would do all this. and happily be paid by our eastern neighbor. So it's complicated. There's no magic wand.
Yeah.
It will take time.
And it has to happen from both ends, of course.
Yes. So collective effort needs to be done.
Made. Thank you so much for being with us. On that note, thank you for joining us, Brigadier Retired Haris Nawaz. Thank you for being with us today. Dr. Adnan Sarwar, thank you for your very valuable time. Naela Chohan, thank you for being with us today. Of course, regional connectivity is a shared goal, and of course it has to be seen in the light of combating this very real menace of terrorism that comes from across the border, where of course soil of countries like Afghanistan has been used for a while, and that is something that is of the first importance to Pakistan, to ensure the safety of their own citizens, of our own citizens. And then of course regional connectivity, the benefits, the financial benefits, the economic benefits, of course the way that they will manifest for all countries as far as Pakistan is concerned, Afghanistan is concerned, and of course regional countries must play a role if there is to be that kind of benefit to this region as a whole. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.